Welcome to the Band Director Bootcamp podcast, the go-to place for busy band directors who want practical to build programs while maintaining balance in their lives. This podcast is brought to you by the Empowered Music Educator Academy, where we help directors like you find efficiency, sustainability, and impact in your teaching and leadership. And speaking of impact, our platinum sponsor, Kennelly Keys Music, has been serving musicians with a commitment to quality, reliability, and exceptional service. Whether you need top-tier instruments, expert repairs, or trusted advice, they've got you covered. Now, let's dive in and set the tempo for success.
Welcome to another episode of Band Director Bootcamp, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Leslie Moffett, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. As busy band directors, we know you don't have time to sit and listen to lengthy professional development webinars. We bring you short little productivity tips for productivity and wellness in 20-minute tidbits with takeaways you can use to make your life a little bit easier. And today, we've got such a sexy topic to talk about today, you guys. If there's little ones in the room, send them away because we are digging into copyright laws. Yes, you heard it right here. All right, so I know you're all staying tuned right now, and I have brought together or to the place today a friend of mine, as well as somebody who's extremely knowledgeable and a little bit nerdy about this stuff, who's going to help bridge that world between music educators and the law. And how do we protect ourselves, each other, our students, our communities, our composers, the public, everybody, and honor all of them. And so, Andrea Peloquin, I want to first of all just thank you so much for being here today. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Andrea's been, she's a former music educator and now is an attorney who is passionate about helping band directors navigate legal challenges in their work. She's been a part of the print music publishing and done sales with them for more than 20 years. And I met her many years ago when she was my liaison to help get my first book carried in J.W. Pepper's catalog. And she set up my first book signing, actually. So I was so excited and so nervous and very grateful to her. And it helped kick off a lot of what I've gotten to do in my personal life. So I'm really grateful. You're responsible for all of my good stuff. Yeah. And as an author, I have such respect and appreciation for what you're doing because I know how it would feel if people took my book and just started photocopying pages out of it and I didn't get compensated for the work that I put into that. And composers, now we all have more connections on the internet and we know them. They're real people making a living from this. And I know our hearts are good as band directors. We want to honor them too, but we don't always know. Is this legal or is it not? Is it ethical? Where's that line? So today I've invited Andrea on. And we're going to talk about some legal issues that every band director needs to know. Cover your ass. Told you it was sexy, you guys. And she's going to break down some important legal considerations for us about copyright compliance for us as music educators, privacy concerns in our digital classrooms, and how all these practices can set a positive example for students and prevent legal troubles for any of you. We don't have time for that nonsense, do we? So, Andrea, what on earth got you interested? Actually, I know because I went to one of your things one time and I watched you just get so excited giving a presentation at the conference. I'm like, this woman is super excited about copyright. And George, my husband, got excited about it after that. And I kind of got like, when you see somebody with that much enthusiasm about anything, it's hard not to go, hey, this is important. I need to know more. So tell us what took you down this path and why you're doing what you're doing.
Oh, you are so sweet. Well, first of all, Leslie, it's wonderful to be here, and I'm excited to talk to everybody today. Yes, I'm excited. It's a shock. For me, yes, I've been talking about copyright probably since my first foray into the music industry, and that was, at least 20 years ago. And I've been talking just because it was a part of my job in print music, telling teachers to, don't copy this, don't copy this. But since then, the pandemic really made an impact on me, well, as it has to everyone. But I was working at J.W. Pepper at the time, and all the publishers were really generous with allowing people to share online and just really use these tools in a way that we hadn't thought about using them before, and not charging for them. But then people got used to that and kept doing it. a lot of them, but the publishers kind of turned that off after a while because they had to start making money again, and supporting the composers that wrote the music. So I decided during the pandemic, because we all had a lot more time, to go back to school and become a lawyer, because I wanted to help people understand this, and I wanted to really get into the nitty-gritty about it and not necessarily make a living this way, but that's kind of turned out to be what I'd like to do now. And just really help people interpret the law and how they can do it. So here we are, and I am doing just that. So yes, I graduated, passed the bar, and I am now a full-fledged attorney, and I'm really excited. So
that's been exciting. I remember when you announced that you had just gotten into law school. Oh, how fun to see it come full circle. And it's a lot to take on. And yeah, how exciting. So talk to us a little bit about maybe some situations you've experienced yourselves or that other people have talked about that our other band directors can relate when it comes to copyright.
Absolutely. Well, you and I were just talking about one where you festivals, is a big thing, where you get a piece of music, students lose their parts here and there. I'm not going to call out drummers, but there you are. Those were always mine, where you don't have an extra copy around and you need an extra copy. So when there's not an extra copy in the set, so you just make a copy. It's who's going to know, right? It looks the same. Well, technically that's making a copy, and under copyright law, that's illegal. So the thing is, back in the day, that was our only option, really. You could order a part from the publisher, but that took weeks because often, they have to break a set to send you them in the mail, and it just takes a long time. But since publishers have started offering the ability to e-print or print digital parts, on demand, there's really no excuse for making those copies, because you can just get that electronic copy in the same time it takes to walk to the copy machine. So publishers are being a lot pickier about this now, and as they should be, because you have the option to do this. And yeah, it costs a little money, but you're contributing to that composer's livelihood, and they do get a portion of it. So yeah. It's important to do that and to not copy when you have another alternative available.
And I think what's happened since the pandemic is kids get so used to everything being digital or easily replaceable. Yes. I have learned that I have to teach my students how to care for the music, and if this piece of paper doesn't come back to me, there's a $7.50 replacement charge plus shipping. So it comes to almost $12. And so, yes. Before I give them music, I've had to literally talk to them about this folder I gave you. This is to put music in. I assumed sixth graders would know. They did not. The music went loose in the folder or in the backpack. The folder was kept by itself. I literally had to teach that skill of taking care of the music and keeping track of it, so that I wasn't finding myself like, hey, let me just make some quick copies. Because you have to teach that accountability to students too, because through no fault of their own, they learned that, I'll just re-download another copy or whatever. Yeah. And so that's...
Or if they have a folder full of copied music, what does that tell them? Because when I taught privately, my students would bring in folders of copied parts. And so that just lets them think right away, oh, my teacher does it, I'm good.
Right. So just that awareness we have to have of what we're showing kids when we hand them a piece of music. If we go onto a website to take a pirated copy that somebody's arranged and we print that off for them, we're saying, hey, this is okay.
And some publishers are even offering, this is what we talked about, offering the option to make enough copies of their pieces to fit your band's instrumentation. Yes. Some of them are really being innovative and creative and flexible with how they're offering their music now. And I think that's an excellent sign that, there is a way we can compromise on this, where you may have to pay a little extra for that set, but you're going to be able to copy as much as you need, and it's legal
within your program. Yeah, they put up the appropriate barriers, but and a shout out to all of you composers and publishers and folks that are recognizing what we need in our classrooms, and we're willing to pay for what we need if we can get it in that format. And so we really appreciate that those are available. What are some other examples or legal things that maybe? Let me ask you a question now. What if I've got a student, I need to differentiate. That kid can't play the particular thing we're doing, or they play an instrument that we don't have. Like there's a jazz piece and I have a violin player and I want to write that alto sax part out. And transcribe it for that kid or arrange it so it's simpler. Where am I crossing lines there?
Well, you can make edits to or adaptations of a piece of music as long as you don't change the character of the piece or the level of the piece. You can transpose it for an instrument that's not available in the set. You can make those basic changes as long as you're not changing I'm looking for the exact wording for this, but as long as you're not changing the character and the level of difficulty, and you're not don't change the key, because that changes the character of the piece.
That does that. Oh, yeah.
It does. That's a limitation. So, for instance, let's see. For academic, no, that's not it. That's not. Oh, yeah. So here it is. You can edit a purchased arrangement to make it more usable for students, provided you don't change the fundamental character of the work. So no changing or adding lyrics, because that changes it. Don't change the basic melody. Don't change the key. The same thing happens online, if you have a digital piece, and you can change all that stuff in your software program, but just remember those parameters.
There are some sites that do offer, when you purchase the piece, you can purchase it in a different key. So they've taken care of that.
They've taken care of that, and they've done it in a legal fashion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it is still possible to purchase it if you want it in that key, instead of saying, I'll just redo it in that. So that they're... Because
they've gotten the appropriate licenses.
Right, exactly.
The copyright owners they can do that. So
right. So people are out there really trying to make efforts to produce what they think we're needing. And so that's important for us to know. Give me another example. You had some good ones when we were yapping earlier.
Okay, so streaming. Everybody loves to stream their concerts now. This is huge because streaming is technically a performance, believe it or not, and you need performance rights to do that. Now, streaming in a public place is usually covered by the venue. If you're in an auditorium, or if you're in a church or something, and those are covered by the venue. However, when you're streaming on your own YouTube channel, YouTube and Facebook generally will cover the performance rights. They have blanket licenses with tons of publishers, and those are generally okay. However, if you're streaming, you need to make sure you have also a sync license, a synchronization license, because inevitably a recording is going to be made of that stream, unless you tell it not to for some reason. But even then, recordings get made of these things all the time. So you need to get permission from those publishers of all those pieces that you're streaming to have that recording made. And that's called a synchronization license, which is basically a license to merge audio and video together. And so you can only get those from the publishers, where the publishers of the piece. So
if you're performing your concert and not streaming it, you're not having an issue if you're like K-12 schools. But if you're going to stream those, that's okay.
If you're going to stream it, you need extra things. If you're going to stream it or record it in any way, because you're allowed to make one recording, if you're in an in-person situation, one recording for archival purposes or for educational evaluation purposes, as long as you don't distribute it or put it on, CDs. Who makes CDs? Put it, make it a download or something, because that's mechanical licenses. That's something different too. So you just need to really plan ahead if you're going to stream it. And it really does make everything much more accessible for relatives who live out of state, people who can't make it. It's great, but just plan ahead and get to those publishers and get the rights that you need.
How hard is that? It sounds sort of overwhelming because we're busy people.
It is super overwhelming if you do it all yourself. There are services that will do that for you, that will help you with those situations. Like same with arranging. If you're going to make an arrangement of something that needs a copyrighted song, you got to get those rights ahead of time before you start arranging. There's places like Traysona, there's Easy Song licensing that can help with that kind of stuff. But if you know that your piece is done by one of the publishers, or you just look on there, most of the publishers will have a licensing tab on their website with easy instructions on those. A form you fill out and you send it in, and they'll get back to you on that. You have to allow enough time though, because this is something they get a lot of requests. And so just because you don't hear back from them in the time that you need doesn't mean you automatically can do it. You need to plan ahead. So I'll put some resources in the show notes of places that you can check to find out who these publishers are and, just ways that you can find who you need to contact.
That would be super helpful.
Yeah, I know
everybody
it's a
check
big
the show
deal.
notes.
It's a thing that takes up a lot of time, but it is super important to do this.
It sounds like the process has been streamlined. So now if we have literally if we use your resources, we can bookmark some of that.
Your school can even set up a channel with some of these services to stream all of their things. And then you just sell subscriptions to the channel to the parents and there's a lot of different business models out there of this now. Yeah, okay. It's very cool. So I'll put all that stuff in the show notes, but just think of that and make sure you're covered. That's one thing.
Okay. Well, I've got a couple other questions for you, but before we continue, I just want to take a moment and thank our sponsor, the Empowered Music Educator Academy, who helps busy band directors create thriving music programs while maintaining balance and wellness in their lives.
As band directors, we know that success is all about preparation, whether it's in the classroom, on the podium, or behind the scenes. That's why the Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to help you master time management, reduce stress, and create sustainable routines that keep both you and your program thriving. And when it comes to ensuring your musicians have access to top quality instruments and services, Kennelly Keys Music is the name to trust. From rentals and repairs to expert advice and outstanding customer service, Kennelly Keys is committed to keeping your program running smoothly. Visit KennellyKeysMusic.com today to explore their offerings and experience the difference of working with a company that truly cares about music education. Now, back to the show.
All right, we are back with Andrea Pelican, doctor. She just
put that in there.
Yes,
too.
I have to. Of course, we are. You earned that, girl. You did. And she's an attorney who specializes in the sexy thing of copyright law for music. So, if you're still with us, I know it's been pretty fun to talk about this stuff. I mean, this was pretty dry information to just sit and try to read and take in. And for those of us that aren't real technical readers and the like, so it's so helpful to have you put it in music teacher terms and in practical, real situations. So I really appreciate this. It's something I think that this should be heard by people in universities and the like, so they get a real concrete understanding of why. Again, I said earlier, a lot of us connect through social media with these composers and we get to know more about them and the like, and we wouldn't steal from them. We wouldn't steal anything else from them. So we want to make sure, we want to make sure. And then again, the contemporary composers that are out there writing music for our students are just amazing humans. We want to give them enough resources so they can continue to do this for a living and not have to go work at Costco and stop writing us all this amazing music. All right. So because I keep these podcasts in tiny little tidbits for you, we got just a couple minutes here to go. Sure. And for the director who's hearing this and going, oh my gosh, I should be in jail right now. Should they panic? Or what should they, moving forward, how can they be a little more mindful of their responsibilities? What's the first step they could take if they've got a music library full of copied music and not much of a budget and moving forward? A couple practical bits of advice, Andrea.
Well, you're not going to like my first one. Number one, Go through and get rid of all those copies. Just get rid of them. You have to do it. There are numerous services out there now that are being developed by the publishers that offer their pieces in digital formats. And there's even some options where if you get a subscription to these services, you can buy the option to print parts from that. I'm not going to endorse any specific services right now, but I will put some links to some ideas in the show notes. But there are options out there now to do all of this stuff legally compliant. If you want, but what I would recommend is just go through everything and see where you might be lacking in getting your licenses. And if you have any arrangements that you had custom made for you that you never got permission to do, and just go back and get that permission. Get that permission, especially if you're going to perform it somewhere. Like that is the biggest danger right there, is performing something that you did not have the permission to make to begin with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
So anyway,
do you offer services for like hour-long consulting and the like?
I do. And I'm so glad you mentioned that because I did forget to make my disclaimer at the beginning.
I was going to also bring that up. And we'll put it in the show notes too for you.
That this is not to be taken, even though I am an attorney, this is not to be taken as specific legal advice for any one situation. If you do, it's informational purposes only. If you do have specific needs or specific questions that I can help you with, my information will be in the show notes, and I would welcome anybody to just get in touch with me. I'd love to set up a time to talk to you about your specific needs and how your specific school can get into compliance. Because yeah, I do have times on my website. You can set them up right there. And at nights and weekends, that's when I do this because I do still have my day job, and I would love to talk to you more about this and put it more in context for what you specifically deal with.
Awesome. Well, we will get all that included in our show notes for you, for all you out there, because Andrea's a wealth of information. It's like having an encyclopedia there. It's like amazing. So, and I found her to be super trustworthy. I know, yes, this is not legal advice, but it's practical. She understands where we're coming from in the classroom, and she sees it from both sides, and has given us a great overview. So thanks for your time and your expertise and your passion in this, because you make your presentation of it makes it so that some of us can hear things that we might have otherwise dozed off through because we didn't understand it before. Seriously, that was great. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in to each episode of Band Director Boot Camp. The work you do in music education matters, and so do you. Thank you for being part of this platform, and join us next time on Band Director Boot Camp for more productivity and wellness tips to make your life a little easier.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Band Director Boot Camp podcast. Remember, success in music education isn't just about what happens on the podium. It's about taking care of yourself and setting up systems that work for you. The Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to help you do just that. So be sure to check out our resources at empowerededucator.com. And of course, a huge thank you to Kennelly Keys Music, our platinum sponsor, for their unwavering support of music educators like you. Whether you need instruments, accessories, or expert advice, their team is ready to help. Thanks for listening, and keep making music happen.